Hey, Science Seekers, this is Mr. Pfeiffer back with our final featured episode from It's Everything Better with Science, which is the podcast series some of the students here at Margaret Mead made episodes to. The episode that we're going to be highlighting today is entitled Protecting the Fragile with the Natural. And I'm going to let them do all of the talking instead of me from here on out. So let's listen to this student's study right now.
Hey, welcome to Everything's Better with Science, Season 2, Episode 12.
Back at you with Using Natural Applicants to Prolong Fruit Shelf Lives.
We are Ananya Krishnan
and Sukanya Ghosh. In an attempt to make everything better with science, this podcast has been adapted from our school's Google Science Fair.
I heard you made it into the top 6 participants for the fair.
Yeah, I did.
I'm interested to know what you did.
Sure. So, Ananya, you are strolling through the grocery store on the hunt for some fruits for your breakfast. You eat breakfast?
No middle schoolers eat breakfast these days.
Of course. Well, let's say you come across an imperfect banana. Oh, that splotched and lolling piece of fruit with brown-tinted organisms creeping onto the sluggish yellow peel. What's your reaction?
Most of the time, I just move on and continue with my expeditions for good quality produce.
You are contributing to the approximate annual 43 billion tons of food wastage globally. But this reaction seems about right to the average consumer. The browning that you see on surfaces of fresh fruits is due to a factor called enzymatic browning.
Oh, I think I've heard of enzymatic browning. It occurs when the enzymes in fruit peels and skins are exposed to oxygen particles in the air. This causes a chemical reaction and the outcome is an oxidized piece of fruit.
That sounds pretty scientifically accurate. The enzymatic browning also affects how fruits taste, including their textures and nutrient content. Overall, this reaction, otherwise known as oxidation, shortens the shelf lives of fruits and vegetables.
Wait, hold up. What's a shelf life?
Essentially, a shelf life is how long a food product can be stored or exist on a shelf before the quality deteriorates. I read that by the Merriam-Webster dictionary.
And since the typical shopper is repelled by oxidized blemishes, stores usually throw out the imperfections of the food industry after their shelf lives have been prolonged to a disposable degree.
This is a very interesting issue that affects daily lives.
Is there a solution? Can we apply something to the fruits to keep them perfect for longer? I'd really like to enjoy my bananas without them perishing before my eyes.
Yes, plant-derived surface films can possibly prolong the oxidation process of different fruits. This can be tested by using different films on the skins of produce.
So basically, you hypothesize that applying natural substances to the skin of a banana, let's say, will keep it more appealing?
Pretty much. And if an effective, efficient, sustainable, and cost-productive solution is enforced in the food industry, the produce in grocery stores and eventually at home will surely be held at a better quality for all consumers.
Swell idea. And what films or ingredients do you suggest would do the trick?
Well, 6 films that would be beneficial are lime juice, ginger juice, aloe vera plant gel, chayote squash sap, coconut oil, and canola oil. They all have properties that will create a barrier between the air and the fruit.
How do you know all this information?
Oh, I conducted a study precisely on how to prevent the no-good spoilage of fruit. I guess I wanted to minimize the food waste to benefit the community and the world we live in.
That's awesome. You really have a goal to help the world.
Thank you.
So I know that bananas are obviously fruits that succumb to the despairs of enzymatic browning very quickly. There must be other kinds of produce that chemically react to become brown.
In my study, I tested the oxidation levels of avocados, pears, and bananas, all of which are known to show fast rates of oxidation. I laid out the 3 types of fruit in a controlled environment. Then I applied each fruit with 1 applicant, 6 of the same applicants per each category of fruit. I left 1 fruit per category without any applicant as control test subjects.
So in total, you had 21 fruits to keep track of.
Yes, and I tested all of them for 15 days, photographing each fruit every other day.
Wow, how did you accurately measure how much browning appeared on the surfaces tested?
To measure and eventually compare the effectiveness of the individual applicants, I used a previously scientifically developed enzymatic browning chart. The browning scale was from 1 to 5, and each level was a different percentage of occurred visual browning.
Oh, so in order to pick the best applicant, you compared all of the surfaces to the controlled fruits and graded them based on the browning chart.
You got this stuff down.
What were the results?
Based on my observation, the coconut oil and lime juice worked most effectively to prevent the browning of fruits. I saw that the average amount of time it took for the coconut-applied fruits to reach the highest amount of browning was 7 days, which was a lot longer than the time the other applicants took.
That means it took, forever to deteriorate, therefore having a long shelf life.
What was really cool to see was that the banana applied with coconut oil never even reached its full shelf life. After 2 weeks, it still only had a few centimeters of brown spots.
I think the coconut oil pear formed successfully because of chemical makeup of saturated fat and lipids. They were thick enough to prevent oxygen from penetrating and chemically reacting with enzymes on the surfaces.
That conclusion is pretty perfect. As a final analysis of all the applicants, I deduced that the coconut oil is the best film.
Alright, very neat. Let's go past the study and talk about how your results affect the real world.
Sure. Although I haven't created an actual testable coconut oil product yet, I have speculated that the coconut oil as a preventative would be successful because of its effectiveness, availability, ease of application, and economical gains.
I assumed that producers or mass suppliers would apply the coconut oil-derived coating on the fruits. Is this your plan?
Yes, so that shoppers will have access to good quality fruits right at the grocery store.
And what about the change of taste in the fruits because of the coconut oil coating?
Well, the applicant would be an organically enhanced and edible product to make the health and sensory alterations as minimal as possible. The proposed product would need to be developed further, but the thought will contribute to minimizing the staggering 40% of food grown for human consumption that goes to waste.
Overall, after identifying the magnanimous issue of food waste that comes from oxidation every year, you were able to formulate a solution of applying natural films to the surfaces of fruits.
Yeah, by testing the effects of different applicants, I was able to discern the positive effects of coconut oil on fruit shelf lives, especially that of a banana. To learn more about the details of my study, visit bit.ly/EBWS12.
It was very intriguing to learn about the change you're promoting in our world.
Yeah, and I think that if we all acknowledge the potential our world has to improve, we can make a big difference.
Alright, to wrap this up, do you want to hear a banana potassium pun?
Okay. And?
No, that was the joke.
Well, that was a bit awkward.
We would like to thank our sponsors, School District 54, and especially our wonderful science teacher, Mr. Pfeiffer.
And lastly, a special thanks to our listeners for tuning in to this episode.
Make sure to pop in and listen to episode number 13, Mung Bean Mishaps.
Goodbye for now, and remember,
Everything's better with